I hosted a Skyblock Anarchy server in Terraria, meaning that there are no rules and players can do anything they put their mind to. Will people get greedy and destroy the precious little spawn island, or will they branch out and build colonies or even entire civilizations? Well, let's find out. I spawned into the lonely Skyblock world to see that we had one island with some lava, some water. I started chopping down trees and just waited for the players to start spawning in. This was a custom Skyblock map, meaning that it was played completely differently, and the main way to progress through the Skyblock is to make an extractinator and extract various different ores from dirt, ash, cobblestone, and other blocks that are specified within the mod. The first person to join the Skyblock server was Ari, so welcome to you, man, and I was greeted with a giant yo. Before quitting the server for the first time, I really wanted to make an extractinator so I could set all of my subscribers on the right path. I built a massive platform over to the left side just because I wanted slimes to spawn in so we can get gel and craft torches. There were people being confused on why the guide was in the place that he was in, like people probably thought I trapped them there on purpose or something. And as more people joined the server, I had to explain the importance of the extractinator so they knew what to do. I collected more cobblestone because I needed to craft a furnace in order to craft the extractinator, and after getting a sufficient amount of stone, I made our salvation, the extractinator. Using this, we could now extract ores from the stone that we had and the dirt, which we could use to progress further into the game. So far, the players are actually very friendly and there was nothing really going on. Everybody was teaming up and just trying to help one another. So for the most part, I let things be. I gave all of my loot to the players and came back to check on the server the next day. Upon loading in, I saw that everybody actually had meteorite armor and people were progressing extremely quickly. The cobblestone generator at spawn was still there, and I ventured over to the left side to see that people had actually expanded upon my platform and built a minecart track all the way over to Golem's temple. Using the minecart, I went even further over to the left up until I stumbled upon the edge of the world and started going back over to the right. People were progressing fast and they were using all of their brain cells to try and beat Terraria as quickly as possible. I'm surprised that everybody worked so well together and didn't just absolutely obliterate the spawn sky island, so props to you guys for that. Anyways, I tried to venture inside the temple because somebody had placed platforms in a way where you could actually enter the temple without a key, so I went in and I got one-shotted by the traps. As I came back to the spawn, there was a tiny blue Squidward's nose. Of course, it's tiny because he did not subscribe to Boio. I bet you it would be far bigger if he did, but that's besides the point. And then there were a couple of platforms leading to a wooden box in the sky that I climbed up and found a guy duplicating items. I fell to my death and then I died. As soon as I spawned in, I ventured over back to spawn and I saw a couple of interesting things. First of all, people had actually worked together and built an entire hub of chests so new players can get better loot and explore the world. This was really sick because now I didn't have to beg people for items and new players could also traverse the Sky Islands far easier. Ari ended up giving me a bunch of good loot and informed me that people had already beaten Moonlord. I'm sad to say that I missed it, but there are still so many awesome builds that we will encounter later in our journey. The first couple of signs I looked at were people trying to teach each other how to duplicate items. This was a very interesting method of cooperation. I didn't really think players would have to teach each other how to do duplication glitches, but this is the type of stuff you find on Boio Anarchy servers. Somebody had a giant text hello Boio built and under it a massive vault of platinum coins. There was a hall of fame which thanked only Triflum and me so far for hosting the server. The vault was also built in order to apparently pay back the costs of running the server. That is funny because of course it doesn't cost me anything to run these servers. For that, I'm partnered with Nodecraft, and if you want to pick up a server for yourself, click the first link in the description for a discount. It helps support me and the wonderful people over at Nodecraft that make these videos possible. I proceeded to fly over to the left side of the world and I found and set off a massive firework collection. This looked absolutely awesome and this was actually my very first time launching fireworks in Terraria. Right under that was a tiny little city built by all of the active players, and it had a couple of NPCs, a bunch of chests, and even a little Boio face. There were countless workbenches and two other buildings to the right right side of it with a duplication machine. I jumped off of that island and landed in this white biome. I honestly genuinely forget what it's called, but it had a couple of other NPC houses, which was really neat to see, and then I went to check out what was in the underworld. The first thing I found was tons and tons of loot, but besides that, there was nothing really else, so I flew back to spawn, and further on the right side of the world, I had discovered an artificial hallowed biome. This was also really cool because people actually put in the time and dedication to build like artificial biomes so they could better progress in the game. I could never have the patience for this. You guys truly impressed me. I ventured over to Skeletron's dungeon after this, hoping there was something down there, but no, it was just the same old dungeon with the same old cranky skeletons, so I decided to get out of there, come back to spawn, and fly up to space, in which I found Triflum's home. I looted his drawer because, well, he wasn't even on the server, so thank you Triflum for all of your heart crystals, and then I ventured down underground to find a artificial mushroom biome with a house in the shape of Squidward's nose, of course, and an artificial jungle biome. This was super awesome to see, and I also managed to find myself Plantera's bulb, so I broke it and I fought Plantera. At the very bottom of the underworld to the bottom left, I found a guy that used Arch Linux, and he very clearly specified that to everyone within the server. After loading back another time, I came back to spawn and found a QR code. Of course, I had to scan it, but before I tell you what it is, how about you pause the video and scan it yourself? Yes, this QR code led to my channel. That was pretty epic of you, but there is another QR code that we will soon later find that was even more epic than this. Under the QR code was this very sick medieval looking castle. I don't know how your guys' building skills are so good. I could never build anything like this. And a little bit further over at spawn, the Hall of Fame had been updated to include a couple more names, and upon checking the small granite Squidward nose, it said that it had been here since the start and the person who built it will kill anyone who touches it. So of course I kept my hands off of it, and while flying around in space I found some letters saying never gonna give you up, and further to the left of it, it said DMC was here. I don't know who DMC is, but it was nice to have you on the server. Once I logged on the server again, some dude named Steve ended up messing up the cobblestone generator, and along with this, people named the spawn Boio's Sussy Island. That is very mature of you guys to do, but I'm not complaining. The Hall of Fame now included even more people such as TNG, Ari, Wario, Arkley, joining the Boio, Khan, and many others for their own reasons. As I came further up, I ended up seeing that somebody built a massive GigaChad and called it the average Boio subscriber. I totally agree with this, and that's just another reason why you should subscribe to the channel. There were pits of water, pits of honey, pits of lava. I don't really know why this was built, but that looked pretty cool. And then I flew back down to the caverns in order to see if there was anything new being built. There wasn't really, so I teleported over to Boom because he wanted to show me his sky base. Apparently he was up till 4 AM making this, and I am very impressed by your building. You guys need to check this out. I don't even know how this guy ended up getting blocks up here, but this looks absolutely wonderful. There were two different islands being connected by a bridge, and I absolutely love this. As I joined back to the server, I saw honey falling out of the sky. I came all the way back to spawn. Somebody had built letters with a Boio face saying Among Us sus. There was a sign that told me to check the wires, which I will do later, and the Boio face was actually built by a player called Law. To the right of it was a duping 101 course on an exact method to duplicate items. And the reason that duplication was so special to this entire server is because without it, progress would have been far slower, and people could never even have dreamed of getting the same type of resources that they did without duplication. To the left of the previous barcode, that of course led to my channel if you guys scanned it yourself. There was another code that you could scan that will lead you to an even better area. Of course, this was to rickroll you, and I genuinely fell for it in real life. While traveling over to the right side of the world at the very edge of the makeshift hallowed biome, there was a teleporter which I used, and it transported me to a mob farm. And once I teleported back home, I flew over to space and found some UFOs built by TMG. This was a really cool small addition to the server, and it really made my day. There was a random Among Us in the middle of nowhere as I was traveling over to the right side, and upon making it to Skeletron's dungeon, there was another QR code. For the very last time, I joined in the server and found two players AFK. I wrote hey, but nobody responded to me, and the sign above them just stated that they were sleeping AFK. I tried to look around for new structures, but this was kind of the end and where the Anarchy server fell off, as not many new players were joining and people had already beat the game with no reason to continue with progress. Be Be sure to check out another video like this on screen. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're new. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. This has been Boio. Peace out.